Hi, everyone. This is Charles Hoskinson, broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Using the backup computer today. Office is starting to take form. A lot to do, a lot to think about. So how y'all doing? You doing good? I wanted to make a mid-February video. We're getting close to the 15th, and talk a little bit about birds, avian stuff. A lot of stuff is coming. A lot of announcements are coming, and really cool advancements for Cardano. There's a HFC event towards the end of the month. Basically, we have the Merry hard fork, and that hard fork common event is going to bring native multi-asset. Now, we've done an enormous amount of research, and we have discovered a really cool protocol where we think we're going to be able, sooner than we thought, to bring the ability to pay transaction fees in a native asset to Cardano. So Agalos, our chief scientist, is going to attend the Cardano 360 update at the end of the month, and he's going to talk specifically about that protocol and give a sense of how it works, who profits, how these things are. We've been in the weeds, very, very deep in the weeds, about the Goguen go-to-market strategy. Silvio has been working very closely with a strategic partner of ours, Runtime Verification, and it keeps growing and growing and growing, and we keep bringing more and more partners in, and we keep making more and more progress, and it's really incredible to see what's coming together. So we are going to do a Goguen-focused Cardano 360 in March. And we're going to talk a lot about all the stuff we're doing for Goguen. The Plutus testnet is coming immediately after the HFC event for Mary. Basically that's going to be the foundation of Alonzo, the Q2 HFC that brings Plutus to the network. So March is going to be all about Goguen. We're going to announce some partners that we have. We're going to announce a lot of these cool things that are coming up for it, and also how we're planning on testing things. We're going to run a lot of experiments. I'm very interested to see if we can take something like a Uniswap and re-implement it in Plutus. We are working with some real token partners. The publicly announced one is SingularityNet. Alex Mashinsky's kind of nodding a little bit about some things, so I'll leave him to talk about what he's doing with us. And there's a litany of other little things we're looking at. We're also going to be announcing over the next 60 to 90 days a series of infrastructure partners for off-chain infrastructure and new wallet support. And there's also a big liquidity announcement that's coming, but I can't say anything about that. It was promised to me this month. We'll see what happens. So there's lots of stuff that's going to be announced there in that context. We're also bringing on 2 dedicated development firms, and their job is to just do nothing but write lots of Plutus code to beat the hell out of the Alonzo testnet and verify that everything that's been in the lab and all the simulations that team has been using are right. There's a huge strategy for Yella, a huge strategy for the KEVM that Runtime Verification is going to do. We're going to roll out that in the Alpha Frontier program in March as well. And Tom Linden is the big guy at RV who's been doing this. He comes from Consensus, and before that he worked at Microsoft. Brilliant guy. He lives in Japan, so we'll have to have him probably do a late night or early morning presentation, but he's going to roll out this whole concept of Alpha Frontier and what we're doing with K as a specification language. So that's going to be very exciting, and I think you guys are going to be really happy about it. Now, people ask a lot about what is a developer strategy, and the term I like to use is ACIDIC, ACIDDIC, and basically that stands for one part, the acid part, is all about the developer, okay? And so that's about how do you acquire them, how do you collaborate with them, what incentives do they have, and how do they actually deploy that software. Then on the other side, the DIC, that's, okay, it's kind of an app store concept of when you deploy it, okay, what platforms are you deploying to? Is it the browser, a cell phone, desktop? And then you also have, how do you interact with the application from a consumer side? And then finally, how do you curate the applications? We're right now working on an app store for cryptocurrencies, and we're very keen and excited for dApps, I should say. We're very keen and excited to see how far we can go. We've had an internal project for over 3 years looking at different ways of doing it, and we think we're starting to converge on a really cool strategy. And actually, I think this is something that will benefit tremendously from decentralization. So instead of a centralized offering, a decentralized offering. And also a good way to introduce the concept of certified software to the end user. Certified software is where you have a formal specification and you prove that the application is correct and follows that specification. So we're not quite ready to roll that out and talk about that, but we're going to get much closer to these concepts in March and beyond. And we're working hand in glove very closely with runtime verification on the certification side and the specification side to the Alpha Frontier program. Now, the other thing is we're going shopping. There's a very good possibility we can make a university announcement in the next 60 to 90 days about setting up a dedicated center for software engineering for smart contracts. I got this idea talking to people at Carnegie Mellon University, and Carnegie Mellon basically has something called the Software Engineering Institute. It's a very famous body, and they've been seminal in setting standards for how to write software development methodologies. A lot of good people have come out of that group. I thought the time has come in our industry to create a university-based engineering institute through a donation and then ongoing commercial participation of members of industry to basically focus on certification standards, assurance levels, design patterns, and other things across all smart contract platforms. Whether you're writing Solidity or Plutus code, Cardano supports everything. We have Yella, and that brings in mainstream languages. We have Solidity and EVM, so you can do your Ethereum stuff, and then obviously we have Plutus and Marlowe and these other things. So it's in our best interest to see standards that are ubiquitous for everybody. So we're going to make an announcement at some point of which university is the lucky winner. We're playing Bachelor right now, deciding which rows to give. And basically the idea is we'll make a large donation. We'll bring in and create a steering committee. It's likely Runtime Verification and IOHK will be members of that. And we'll use that as a foundation to start building up a lot of design patterns in our industry. And then we're going to invite many other cryptocurrency projects to attend. The Algorands of the world, the Tezoses of the world, the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, and the Ethereum Foundation, and so forth. It's in all of our best interest for proper standards to exist about how to write smart contracts, how to certify smart contracts, how to audit smart contracts, and so forth. So we'll be talking about that in a bit. But I just want to let you guys know that's on the radar. Now, there's a major commercial deal, and it's starting to leak a little bit, and this is about a bird. We're not quite ready. We're ready on our side, but that government isn't quite ready to make that announcement. But my understanding is that it's in the final stage, and we're just kind of waiting for the nation state's PR people to get up to speed and do things. We believe that that's going to occur in February. And I haven't gotten any information to the contrary. What I can say is this is a major deal. Involves 5 million people, and it's a very substantial thing. It involves deployment on Cardano, so those will become Cardano users over a period of time. But I can't quite say anything more yet. John O'Connor in Proof of Africa kind of said some things about that, but I'm not going to say any more because we're waiting for the nation state's PR to It's a near and dear deal to my heart, and it's something that's very important to me because we've spent years as a company pursuing Africa deals, and it has legitimized that strategy. And this particular entry point gives us the ability to extend and expand over a 12, 24-month period for tens of millions of users, and we'd like to franchise it, make it Pan-African, and go across the entire continent. I think it's probably the largest cryptocurrency deal in the history of our industry for single deal and user acquisition. But again, we're going to hold off on saying any more until that nation state gets its stuff together on the PR side, and that completely finalizes. It's one of those things where you get about 95%, and then everything kind of slows to a grinding pace, and you just have to wait and wait and wait. And it is what it is, and we've been dealing with that since November. And it looks like, though, that we're finally at a point where national press can happen and these things can be said. And because it kind of got a little leaked with the Proof of Africa interview, I figured it'd be good to give you guys a teaser there. So I think we can talk about that bird this month. There's another bird, too, and that one I can't say much about, but I think you guys will be very happy, and I do believe that that's occurring this month as well. But, those are just events, and they're validators of the strategy that we're following, and they are starting points to build upon. but by no means are they the only things to say. We're going to have a lot more to say at the 360 event at the show at the end of the month. And then in March, there's going to be the go-to-market strategy for Goguen, where we get into the weeds about how we're competing with Ethereum, how we're presenting a better view in general about building applications on our platform, and where do we want to go with all that. Who are the partners that are coming with us? We are seeing exceedingly strong commercial demand for people to become multi-chain and come over to Cardano, or to actually completely migrate to Cardano, cutting ties with the old system. That's just great. And there's already some are announced, like, for example, SingularityNet. There are many who have expressed interest, like the Celsiuses of the world and the Somis and these others, and we're very happy to see that. And a lot of my day is now actually consumed in these types of meetings. So it's pretty incredible that even before native multi-asset comes, we're seeing this kind of demand, and that commercial side is only going to get dialed up very radically. So hang in there. Can't quite give you guys the birds yet, but they're probably going to come land here in February. I still think that that's the case. Hopefully towards the end of the month or next week, we'll see. But overall, that's as much as I can say, and I know you guys are dying inside, so I figure I'll give you a mid-February update about it. And it's just overall incredible. We've seen such incredible growth in community population, Google search volume, Reddit subscriptions, Telegram subscriptions, commercial interest, and it's all here to stay. And we're actually turning stuff on now. As I mentioned, native multi-asset is coming, and there's over 100 plus tokens that were issued on the Mint network, and so a lot of those in short order will be rolled over. I get probably 1 or 2 pitches for ICOs and STOs every day sent to my email. Catalyst is also coming along incredibly well. Fund 4 has $1 million, and every time we do this, the funds get larger. I think the next one will be at that size, or 2 million. And I suspect 20 to 30 entities will probably get funded this round. 11 were funded in the prior round. I'm also going to hire a full-time journalist specifically to write stories about those who get funded with Catalyst. So basically, this person will come in, interview people who have gotten funding, ask, who are you, where do you come from, why are you here, so we can tell your stories a little bit better. And for the really large ones, to syndicate those as well. We're still in the nuts and bolts with the Wolfram relationship. That's very strong. They're a great company. We love working with them. And we're really exploring how to convert that into a great approach for oracles. For AgeUSD, the stablecoin, we're working real hard at figuring out a proper port for that to the Alonso testnet. And then from there, we'd like to see that in production on the Cardano network. We're just making sure that all the regulatory stuff, if any, is crossed and dotted, and that's okay. We're also going to announce, likely either next month or the month after, the dates for the Goguen Summit. We're still trying to figure out if we're going to do an in-person component or not, and we've been waiting to see what's happening with travel again. The IATA has vaccine passports. Israel started issuing vaccine passports, but I think everybody's waiting for the Europeans and the U.S. to get together and decide what that means, and if vaccines are the way to travel again. If that's the case, we can do an in-person event, and we'll do a hybrid event because most people won't want to travel, and basically do it like we did the Shelley Summit, but then also have a in-person. But if we can't do an in-person, we might have Goguen a little earlier. If we can have in-person, we may do Goguen a little bit later, because it adds another 2 to 3 months of logistical considerations of how do we move everybody there and get them there. So that will be announced likely at the Goguen update we're going to do with the March Cardano 360. But maybe we'll push it out to April, but no later than April for announcing that particular date. And I'd also like to do a giant hackathon. There's many more partners who are going to go there, a lot of showcasing. Also, anyone who has received Catalyst funding, we're going to make sure that at that summit, they're given an opportunity to showcase the progress that they made with that. So that already creates probably 200 speakers or something like that. So probably a digital event would be better for it. So a lot of things in flight, a lot of things are moving very quickly. And it's just really amazing to see how it's all coming together. And it's really exciting to see it all come together. And so I figured, given that there's so much stuff around and there's so many people going crazy, that it'd be a good idea to do a mid-February update and just kind of tell you guys where we're at, what's going on. So that's as much as I can say about the birds. They're pretty sexy birds, pretty happy about them, and I'm waiting just like you guys are to eagerly talk about them. But as much as I can say, that's that. And as for everything else, stay tuned for the Cardano 360 episode at the end of this month. Stay tuned for the Goguen Cardano 360 episode at the end of March. They're going to be very, very fun. We haven't missed any deadlines. Engineering is still on track. They're working incredibly hard to stay on track because we keep adding more stuff to do. And all the teams are working well. And we've actually added more team members as well. The newest company to start working on Cardano is Obsidian. Obsidian is a Haskell development firm on par with things like Well-Typed and Twig, and they're now actually working on the update system for Cardano. As many of you are aware, next month is a very major milestone for Cardano. March 31st, D should equal 0, which means 100% of the blocks will be made by stake pool operators. So that's an extraordinary thing. And I believe around that same time period, we should anticipate major progress or full implementation and deployment of peer-to-peer. So we'll see where they fall in their engineering schedule. We're trying to accelerate the testing phase a bit so that we can hit both of those milestones at the same time. But we'll know more in about 2 weeks whether that's feasible. Otherwise, full peer-to-peer will come in early Q2. But that means all infrastructure is running by you. Then there's a question of governance, and there's a huge amount to do in governance, and Obsidian is assisting with that as well. So we had one guy working on our update system, the one that we built with the European Union, and now Obsidian, we've retained 2 more people specifically for that relationship. So there are 3 people working on the on-chain update system, and then we've actually expanded the size of the Catalyst team to include more Rust developers. I think we hired 3 more Rust developers specifically for that, and we're going to add some more oversight because we want to accelerate things that we're doing on the governance side. So likely right after the Goguen update in April, it would be nice to do a large update on Voltaire and some of the end-of-year plans that we have. We'll also introduce you guys to someone named Leon, likely in May or June, to talk about Cardano 2025, in particular, the DCF idea we have. It stands for Decentralized Consortium Funding. It's kind of like what the ICO should have been back in the day for a post-launch coin with treasury system and so forth, and where you want dozens of actors to work on it. And so we're also going to be negotiating and retaining a dedicated consultancy to help us with that concept. We're not quite where we need to be to announce all the details, but we are writing a white paper on it, and then we're going to actually instantiate one. So look for that, and we'll have a cool presentation on it. Hydra progress is very good. We have more Hydra team members coming online in March, and those Hydra members are going to work towards getting a prototype somewhere in the middle of the year that will confirm the simulations and the papers. We're also working on the head-tail protocol, the tail protocol, and the routing protocols for these things. And what we're going to do is rapidly accelerate resources for Hydra channels towards the second half of the year. So right as we get past Alonzo and we start moving into cleanup for Cardano 2020, there's going to be a big surge in resources to make sure that Hydra gets done correctly. And there's a lot of protocol tuning that has to be done. But it is my goal to have at least a beta of Hydra running on the testnet sometime this year and sometime next year or this year to run the final version of it for version 1.0. But that's contingent on how fast the scientists can refine the protocols and get them all running. But everything is looking really beautiful there. And what's nice is that Hydra is usable not only for Ada, but will also be usable for all native assets that are issued on Cardano. So one of the things about issuing assets here is in addition to this transaction fee idea, you get to reuse our governance and you're going to be able to reuse our payment state channel concept as well. So huge amount of stuff. The next 90 days are balls to the wall crazy. Every week something's coming out. Every week something's being announced. Every week something is happening, and it's going to be information overload. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas and the lulls of January. It's pretty frantic. And a lot of news is actually being made by the community. There's so much developer interest. So as these smart contracts turn on, you're going to see all those guys and gals making their announcements, and Catalyst keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's going to start attracting larger scale project ideas in the $250,000, $500,000 range, because, $1 million pot every 6 to 8 weeks is a huge concept, and people are going to be coming in to ask for that. So, and then as I mentioned, more academic partnerships, more standards, and these types of things. And then obviously a lot of progress on Prism as well. And we're already looking at how do we get the identity center turned on? How do we talk about embedding DIDs into the metadata of transactions so you can have KYC wallets, these types of concepts. A lot of performance improvements are also going to be coming. A big emphasis on engineering post Shelley was just cleaning up the Shelley tail. The end of the tail is optimization. So we're going to do a lot of optimization in the client. So you should see a lot of speed improvements in certain things. I'm also really aggressively looking into a light client strategy for Daedalus. And what's likely going to happen is we're going to have a Daedalus 2 team. We'll put a team in that, and they're going to look at Daedalus Mobile, Daedalus in the browser, like a Yoroi-style wallet, and Daedalus Desktop. And part of that is light client by default with a background upgrade to full client. So you can use everything straight from installation, kind of like the old Electronium wallet. I think that's the great user experience, and having a ubiquitous user experience, whether you're on your cell phone, you're on the browser, or you're on the desktop client. The other thing is that Daedalus is transforming from a single asset wallet to a multi-asset wallet. The first GUI experience there, UX experience, is going to be with Mary, and that's a giant beta test for how should we show these assets, what should we do with these assets. But the point is, when you issue an asset in our ecosystem, whatever Ada is going to do, that asset can do. So we talk about a paper wallet generator, for example, like I sketched out in my whiteboard video. That paper wallet, you can also build a paper wallet for your user-issued asset with the very same mechanism, the very same security standard. We talk about multi-sig, exactly the same. This is the elegance of this particular setup. It's not treated as a different artifact and custom stuff has to be written. It's integrated at the core. And Daedalus will eventually reflect that as we continue to upgrade it. Hybrid wallets are a big thing that I care about. So the basic idea there is where you have a ledger or a Trezor or some hardware device where your private keys live. And what you do is you co-build that wallet with Daedalus. So Daedalus manages the voting and staking. The hardware device manages the value keys. So you have hot wallet for all the convenience stuff, but when you actually go to spend your money, you connect your hardware device through the hardware wallet center. And I think that usability pattern is going to be great for the majority of users because you'll have just full node security, you'll have a beautiful interface, the things that you're dynamically doing again and again, like voting and staking and so forth, you have a hot wallet experience. And, if that gets compromised, you haven't lost any money. What you do is you just rebuild the hybrid wallet and you rotate keys, but no one can spend your ADA because that's living on the ledger device. So that's something we're very excited to bring out, and that's coming in Q2, along with the partial delegation idea, where you can go from one wallet, delegate to many pools. It was originally planned for Q1. That feature had to be pushed into Q2 because we wanted to add and de-risk resources for the multi-asset, for Rosetta, and for other such things. And Adrestia can only do so much, and they're kind of constrained by some linear demands. So a lot of stuff there. We also have a really cool cloud product we're building, and we'll make an announcement about that. It's going to roll up a lot of these things that you see that run in the browser, and Alex Appledorn is the product manager for that in addition to the Adrestia side. So we'll be making some statements soon, some demos soon, if not in February, then in March. And I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised about it. Okay, well, that's all I have for you, just a brief 25-minute update. Hope that helps. It's a mid-month update. We're going to have more this month, certainly, and hopefully the birds will land. I think they are going to, and you guys are pretty excited, but I've already given away a lot. So you could probably put the pieces together if you're quite clever about where it's at and what it's involved with and so forth. But it is the largest Cardano deal we've ever done, and it's nice to see it get closed. And hopefully we can make some announcements soon about it. Cheers.